Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. Today we're steering straight into the escalating trade tension between Canada and the United States. Proposed tariffs threaten to disrupt energy markets, manufacturing supply chains, and the economic ties that North America thrives on. This conflict could reshape the automotive and energy landscape in ways we can't yet fully predict. How will Canada respond? And what ripple effects could hit the US and beyond? Stick around as we explore 7 critical outcomes of this brewing trade war, each one with far-reaching implications for the automotive world. Number 7. Trump's 25% tariffs, a high-stakes move. The announcement of a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican imports sent shockwaves across North America. While aimed at protecting U.S. industries and addressing trade imbalances, the strategy poses significant risks to cross-border supply chains. Canada supplies over 3.8 million barrels of crude oil daily to the U.S., accounting for more than half of its oil imports. Tariffs could spike energy costs and disrupt the energy-intensive automotive sector. Mexico, a key supplier of heavy crude for U.S. refineries, faces similar stakes. The fallout may include higher energy prices, supply chain disruptions, and inflation spikes. U.S. manufacturers relying on Canadian and Mexican materials could encounter rising costs and delays, leading to layoffs and slower production. This move sets the stage for economic turbulence, threatening stability across North America. Number 6. Canada's retaliation. Energy as a weapon. Canada wields significant leverage in its energy exports. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has suggested halting electricity exports to the U.S., potentially affecting 1.5 million American consumers in states like Michigan and Wisconsin. However, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith cautions that restricting oil exports could harm Alberta's oil-reliant economy. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau advocates a more balanced response, focusing on targeted tariffs on U.S. goods like steel, aluminum, and agricultural products. These measures are designed to pressure key American industries without jeopardizing Canada's economic stability. Canada faces a delicate balancing act, asserting its position in the face of U.S. tariffs while avoiding self-inflicted economic harm. The nation's strategy highlights the complexity of navigating trade tensions, where bold actions must be carefully weighed against their potential long-term impacts on economic stability and trade relationships. Number 5. The auto industry, a sector on the brink. Few sectors illustrate the interconnected nature of North American trade like the automotive industry. With parts crisscrossing borders multiple times during production, tariffs could severely disrupt supply chains, escalating costs for manufacturers and consumers alike. Steel and aluminum from Canada, essential materials for vehicle production, are prime targets for retaliatory tariffs. These increased costs could compound existing production struggles for U.S. automakers, already grappling with post-pandemic recovery and supply chain hiccups. States like Michigan and Ohio, where automotive manufacturing is a pillar of the economy, may see job losses and reduced production. The implications stretch beyond traditional vehicles to the burgeoning EV market. Aluminum and rare earth metals are crucial for EV production, and higher costs could hinder progress toward cleaner technologies. The auto industry's intricate web of dependencies means these tariffs could reverberate far beyond assembly lines. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to create more content like this. Now let's explore number 4, Mexico's tactical countermeasures. Mexico, meanwhile, isn't taking these proposed tariffs lightly. President Claudia Sheinbaum has signaled plans for reciprocal tariffs with a focus on U.S. agricultural exports like corn, soybeans, and meat. These moves could hit American farmers hard, making their products less competitive globally. Mexico's response isn't just defensive, it's strategic. Through the Plan Mexico initiative, the country aims to bolster domestic production in key sectors like automotive and aerospace. By attracting foreign investment and diversifying trade relationships, Mexico is preparing for a future where it can withstand external trade pressures more effectively. This forward-thinking approach is about more than tariffs. It's about long-term economic resilience. By reducing dependence on imports and strengthening its internal production, Mexico is positioning itself as a self-reliant and competitive player in the global market. From the escalating energy battles to the looming challenges for automakers and the strategic maneuvers of Mexico, the landscape is shifting rapidly. What lies ahead for the automotive world in this unfolding trade conflict? Number 3. Canada's long-term play diversifying energy. Canada is setting its sights on reducing its dependence on the U.S. as a primary energy customer. Central to this plan is the expansion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which will open pathways to Asian markets. By broadening its export destinations, Canada can mitigate the economic risks of future trade disputes with its southern neighbor. In addition to diversifying markets, Canada is ramping up investments in renewable energy and energy efficiency. These initiatives align with the country's environmental goals and reduce reliance on fossil fuel exports, positioning Canada as a leader in clean energy innovation. At home, this pivot to energy diversification fuels job creation in emerging industries. Whether through pipeline projects or renewable energy developments, opportunities are growing for Canadian workers in construction, engineering, and green technologies. These moves not only strengthen Canada's economy, but also provide leverage in global trade negotiations. Number 2, the double-edged sword of economic fallout. The economic impact of tariffs weighs heavily on both nations. For the U.S., rising oil prices and retaliatory tariffs could trigger inflation, job losses, and slower GDP growth. States like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, which depend on Canadian energy and manufacturing imports, would face significant disruptions. Canada is equally vulnerable. Alberta, reliant on crude oil production, risks job losses, reduced provincial revenues, and federal budget strains if exports are restricted. Economic instability could lead to higher taxes or cuts in public services, affecting citizens nationwide. The deeply interconnected North American economies mean disruptions on one side ripple across the region. Both nations must navigate the steep costs of escalating trade tensions carefully, weighing the potential long-term consequences against short-term political and economic gains. Stability in this high-stakes situation requires strategic foresight and cooperation. Number 1. The future of the U.S.-Canada trade. The trade conflict jeopardizes the future of North American economic ties, putting the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement under immense strain. Prolonged disputes risk eroding trust and complicating future negotiations. If Canada and Mexico successfully diversify their trade and energy markets, the U.S. could lose its role as their primary partner. This would weaken the interconnectedness that has historically benefited all three nations, potentially sidelining the U.S. in global supply chains as Canada and Mexico turn to Asia and Europe for partnerships. A fractured North America would face challenges competing with economic blocs like the European Union or China-led trade networks. For the U.S., the stakes are high. Failure to adapt could threaten long-term economic security. Collaboration and diplomacy are crucial to preserving the alliances that underpin North America's economic stability. The region must choose between unity and further division. Final thoughts. This high-stakes trade standoff reminds us of the challenges of protectionist policies in a globalized economy. While these tariffs may aim to protect domestic industries, the potential fallout, from energy disruptions to fractured alliances, could be devastating for all involved. What do you think? Will North America find common ground to maintain economic stability, or are we on the verge of a prolonged trade war? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald for the latest updates on this unfolding story. Hit the notification bell to stay tuned for more deep dives into the automotive world and beyond. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.